If a woman ignores you, most men make the same mistake. They panic, they get anxious, they wonder what they did wrong, and then they start overcompensating. Suddenly, they're blowing up her phone with back-to-back messages, liking every picture she's ever posted, and begging for attention in ways that only push her further away. And the more you chase, the more she runs. The more you try to force a reaction, the more silent she becomes. That is not the way to handle it. You see, ignoring someone is communication in itself. Silence is a form of speech. And when a woman ignores you, she's saying something, whether it's about her feelings, her priorities, or her level of interest. The question is not, why is she ignoring me? The better question is, how do I respond in a way that protects my self-respect and shows her that I am not desperate for her attention? Because that's the real test. It's not about getting her to stop ignoring you. It's about how you carry yourself in the face of it. Now, let me be very clear. Every woman is different, and not all situations are the same. Sometimes she's ignoring you because she's genuinely busy. Sometimes she's distracted by life, by work, by school, by family, and her silence has nothing to do with you. Other times, yes, she's losing interest. She's weighing her options, or she's testing you to see how you'll react. And then there are those moments when she ignores you because she already has the answer in her heart, and she's hoping you'll get the message without her having to spell it out. Whatever the reason may be, one thing stays true. You cannot control her behavior. You can only control yours. So what should you do when a woman ignores you? First of all, you need to resist the urge to chase. That's the number one thing that ruins men in these situations. Chasing her when she has withdrawn is like pouring water into a basket. It goes nowhere and it leaves you empty. If she's gone silent, respect the silence. Give her the gift of space. That doesn't mean you become cold or vengeful. It means you stop trying to force energy from someone who isn't giving it freely. The more you show that you can stand on your own 2 feet without her validation, the more attractive you actually become. The second thing you must do is focus on yourself, and I don't say that as a cliché. I mean genuinely shift your attention back to your own life. If she's ignoring you, let that be your signal to invest more deeply in your goals, your health, your friendships, your passions. Go to the gym, work on that project you've been postponing. Spend time with people who appreciate your presence instead of withholding theirs. When you start pouring into yourself instead of pouring into someone who's ignoring you, you not only build your value, but you also protect your mental peace. Here's something many men don't realize. Women are drawn to men who have purpose. They may enjoy attention, yes, but at the end of the day, what really pulls them in is a man who knows where he's going and isn't derailed by someone else's silence. When you stop obsessing over her responses or lack of them, and you keep moving forward, she notices. Maybe not right away, but eventually she sees the difference between a man who collapses at her silence and a man who keeps shining regardless. Which one do you think leaves a stronger impression? Now, another thing you need to understand is that ignoring can sometimes be a test. Some women want to see whether you'll break your frame, whether you'll crumble, beg, and turn into someone unrecognizable just because she hasn't texted you back. They want to know if your confidence is real or if it's fragile. And this is where many men fail because they take it personally. They start questioning themselves. Am I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? And before they know it, they're in her DM asking for explanations she has no intention of giving. When you fall into that trap, you prove to her that your emotions are in her control, and that's the last place you want to be. So, if she's ignoring you as a test, pass it by staying composed. Don't lash out, don't beg, don't play games. Just carry on. If she comes back around, good. If she doesn't, also good. Because here's the truth. A woman who is genuinely interested in you will not ignore you forever. She might pull back for a moment, but real interest always finds a way to show itself. And if she's not showing it, then she's not for you. Let her go. You need to remember that respect is a two-way street. If she respects you, she won't deliberately ignore you for long. And if she disrespects you, why would you even want to keep chasing her? The problem is, too many men are addicted to the chase. They confuse rejection with a challenge. They think if I just try harder, she'll finally see my worth. But no. If someone can't see your worth on their own, forcing it won't change anything. Your energy is better spent elsewhere. Now let's talk about what happens if she does come back after ignoring you. Do you welcome her with open arms, no questions asked? Or do you hold your ground? Here's what I suggest. If she returns, don't pretend like nothing happened. You don't have to confront her aggressively, but you do have to set the tone. Keep your energy calm and balanced. Don't give her the satisfaction of knowing you were suffering in her absence. Instead, show her that your life kept moving, with or without her. When she sees that, she'll think twice before playing those games again. And in some cases, her ignoring you is the closure you needed but didn't want. Sometimes silence is the clearest answer. If she's showing you through her lack of response that she doesn't value you, then believe her. Don't sit around hoping she'll suddenly change her mind. Walk away with your dignity intact, because the worst thing you can do is to stay where you're not wanted. That only drains you, and it blocks you from finding someone who will appreciate you without hesitation. Let me tell you this. Ignoring someone is not always about disinterest, but your reaction to it reveals everything about who you are. A strong man does not crumble because a woman has gone quiet. He does not lower his standards or compromise his worth just to get a reply. He knows that attention should be mutual, not begged for. He understands that love, respect, and effort should come freely from both sides. Anything else is a waste of time. So when a woman ignores you, act like this. Stay calm, stay composed, and stay focused on your own life. Do not chase, do not beg, do not try to manipulate her into giving you attention. Simply match her energy. If she pulls back, you pull back too. If she disappears, you let her go. And if she returns, you deal with her from a position of strength, not desperation. That is how you keep your dignity. That is how you protect your peace. And that is how you remind yourself that your value is not determined by who chooses to ignore you. Because at the end of the day, the right woman will not put you through endless silence. The right woman will not play with your emotions just to see how far she can push you. The right woman will respect you, value your time, and communicate with you. Until you meet her, keep your standards high. Don't let anyone's silence make you forget who you are. Walk with confidence, act with self-respect, and let your life be so full that no one's absence feels like your downfall. And that is the real power move. Think about this for a second. When was the last time you ignored someone? Maybe it was a friend who kept pushing for your time when you didn't have it. Maybe it was someone you weren't interested in but didn't have the heart to reject directly. Or maybe it was someone who overwhelmed you with constant attention, and the only way you could create space was by going silent. If you reflect honestly, you'll realize that ignoring is rarely random. It's deliberate, and that's why when a woman ignores you, your first response shouldn't be panic but clarity. You need to ask yourself, what does this silence mean for me, and what does it say about her? There are men who collapse the moment they feel ignored. They sit by their phones, refreshing screens, staring at unread messages, wondering if the problem is them. And the more they think about it, the more insecure they become. But insecurity never attracts anyone. When a man spirals into desperation, He doesn't realize he's only confirming to her that she was right to ignore him. He's proving that he's not in control of himself. You can't afford to do that. Instead, you have to lean into composure. You have to treat silence as neutral, not personal. If she's busy, your composure buys you respect. If she's testing you, your composure proves you can't be manipulated. And if she's done with you, your composure gives you the strength to walk away gracefully. No matter what the situation is, holding yourself steady always works in your favor. Let's imagine two men in the same scenario. The first one is ignored by a woman he likes. He floods her phone with long messages, asking why she hasn't replied, apologizing for things he didn't even do, and pleading for another chance. The second man gets ignored by the same woman. He sends one message, maybe two. When there's no response, he focuses on his own life. He doesn't chase, he doesn't nag, and he doesn't lose sleep over it. Weeks later, the woman compares the two men in her mind. Which one do you think she respects more? The man who lost his dignity, or the man who stayed calm? Respect is always earned by restraint, not by desperation. And here's the thing, ignoring someone is powerful. That's why people use it. It creates a reaction, but if you can't be easily rattled, you take away that power. The moment she realizes that her silence doesn't control you, the dynamic shifts. Now she's the one who has to decide whether to step forward or step out completely. And that's the position you want to be in. Some men hear this and think, but what if she never comes back? And my answer is simple, then she was never yours to begin with. Why hold on to someone who doesn't want to hold on to you? Why spend your energy begging for a presence that clearly doesn't value your presence? Think of it like this. If you walk into a store and the salesperson refuses to acknowledge you, do you keep begging them to take your money? Or do you walk into another store where someone is happy to serve you? Relationships are no different. Stop begging for service where you're being ignored, of course. There's another side to this. Sometimes men think that ignoring back is the answer. They say, she's ignoring me, so I'll ignore her twice as hard. But that's not strength either, that's just ego. You're still letting her actions dictate yours. Real strength is not about matching silence with silence out of revenge. It's about being indifferent. If you choose not to respond, it should be because you've genuinely moved on with your life, not because you're trying to prove a point. Silence born out of growth is power. Silence born out of ego is still weakness. Let's be real, human nature craves attention. We all want to feel noticed, heard, and valued. So when a woman ignores you, it hurts because it cuts at that very need. But pain is information. It tells you where you've placed too much importance on someone else's approval. And that's where the lesson lies. The lesson is not about how to trick her into responding again. The lesson is about how to detach your self-worth from her behavior. Because once you do that, you stop fearing silence. You stop fearing rejection. You stop fearing loss. You realize that you are the prize, and if someone can't see it, that's their blindness, not your burden. Now, let's flip the script. What happens when you respond the right way? Imagine she ignores you, and instead of spiraling, you keep showing up in your own life. You're hitting the gym. You're building your career. You're laughing with friends. You're improving yourself day by day. At some point, she looks back and sees that while she was ignoring you, you were leveling up. She realizes you're not sitting in a corner crying over her absence. That image alone changes everything. Suddenly, she's the one who feels the loss. Suddenly, she's the one wondering if she miscalculated. That's the irony of silence. When you handle it right, it doesn't weaken you. It elevates you. Think of the men who get remembered long after the relationship ends. They're never the ones who begged. They're never the ones who stalked or pleaded. They're the ones who walked away with their head held high, who kept shining without needing the other person's validation. That memory sticks because it's rare. Most people collapse under silence. Very few stand tall in it. Be the man who stands tall. And here's something you need to understand deeply. The woman who is meant for you will not treat you like an afterthought. She won't need to ignore you to feel powerful. She won't test your worth by withdrawing affection. She'll respect your presence, she'll value your time, and she'll communicate openly. So every time you face silence, remind yourself, maybe this is the universe's way of filtering out the wrong people. Maybe this is how you get closer to the right one. So, if a woman ignores you, don't crumble, don't chase, don't lose yourself. Hold your frame, respect the silence, redirect your energy into building yourself up. Because the moment you master that, you'll never again fear being ignored. You'll see it for what it really is, information, and with the right mindset, information is power. You know what's interesting. When a woman ignores a man, many men treat it like the end of the world. But flip it around. How many times have men ignored women without realizing it? A man might get busy with work, distracted by friends, or absorbed in his own goals, and he doesn't notice that he hasn't responded to her in days. But women don't usually chase men down when that happens. They might feel disappointed, but the smart ones take the hint and keep it moving. That's the same energy you need to adopt. When someone goes quiet on you, it doesn't have to be this dramatic crisis. Sometimes it's just life, sometimes it's just disinterest. Either way, your reaction should be calm. There's a saying, never let someone's silence speak louder than your own presence. If you've been showing up as yourself, if you've been clear with your intentions, if you've put in the effort to communicate, then you've already done your part. Anything beyond that is outside of your control, and stressing over what you cannot control is a quick way to lose your peace of mind. That's why I always emphasize this. Your peace should come first. If her silence is disturbing your peace, then the problem isn't her silence. The problem is that you've given her too much control over your emotions. Pull that power back. Now, some men say, but what if she just wants me to try harder? Listen, there is a difference between effort and desperation. Effort is healthy. Desperation is destructive. If she's interested in you, she won't make you beg. She won't turn it into a game where you have to prove yourself by chasing endlessly. That's not effort, that's manipulation. And the longer you play that game, the more you lose. Because the truth is, no woman worth keeping will build her attraction to you by ignoring you. A woman who truly sees your value will want to engage, not withdraw. Let's talk about timing. Sometimes, ignoring happens at the beginning of a connection. Maybe you've just met, exchanged numbers, and she goes cold. Other times, it happens later, when you've been seeing each other for a while, and suddenly she starts pulling back. These two situations are different, but your response can still be the same. Early on, if she ignores you, it's simple, move on. She wasn't that interested to begin with. Don't waste your energy trying to force attraction where it doesn't exist. Later on, if she starts ignoring you, then yes, it might sting more because there's already history. But even then, the principle stands, don't chase, step back. Let her absence reveal the truth of her feelings. Imagine this, you're texting a woman and she leaves you on read. Hours pass, then days. You're tempted to send another message, hey, did you get my text? But what does that really say? It says you're waiting by your phone, desperate for her attention. That's not attractive. Instead, the best response is no response. If she wants to talk to you, she will. If she doesn't, then she won't. Either way, you're not stuck in limbo, begging for clarity. You've already chosen clarity for yourself by not chasing. Here's another thing men don't always see. Ignoring is sometimes a reflection of her character. If she can't communicate like an adult, if she can't express her feelings with honesty, if her only tool is silence, then maybe she's not emotionally mature enough for the kind of relationship you want. And if that's the case, why would you keep investing in her? Ignoring is not always about you. Sometimes it's about her inability to deal with situations directly. Don't punish yourself for someone else's immaturity. But let's also be fair. There are moments when ignoring is not intentional. Maybe she's genuinely overwhelmed. Maybe she's going through something she hasn't shared. Maybe silence is her way of coping, not rejecting. And this is why it's important not to jump to conclusions immediately. Give space, give patience, but give it once, not endlessly. If she comes back and explains, fine. If she doesn't, you already know where you stand. Think of it like fishing. If you're sitting there tugging at the line constantly, you'll scare the fish away. But if you cast your line and wait calmly, you either catch something or you don't. And if nothing bites, you don't cry about it. You move to another spot. Relationships work the same way. Patience without pressure, presence without panic. One mistake I see men make often is using silence to punish her back. They think she ignored me, so now I'll ignore her harder. I'll teach her a lesson. But what's the point of that? That's not strength, that's pettiness, and pettiness doesn't build respect. If she sees you as someone who retaliates instead of simply living your life, she won't admire you. The best way to respond is not through revenge, but through indifference. Indifference is unshakable. Indifference is power. Ask yourself this. What kind of man do you want to be remembered as? The man who begged for attention, who sent 20 texts without a single reply? Or the man who kept his cool, stayed grounded, and let her silence speak for itself? Women remember composure. They remember strength. They remember the men who didn't fold under pressure. Even if she never comes back, that memory lingers. And more importantly, you walk away with your self-respect intact. There's also the lesson of scarcity. When you treat your time and energy as valuable, you don't waste it on people who don't reciprocate. If she's ignoring you, she's showing you that she doesn't prioritize you. So why would you prioritize her? Your time is currency. Spend it on people who invest it back, not people who leave you waiting. The moment you realize that, you'll stop fearing silence. Here's something practical you can do the next time you feel ignored. Instead of reaching for your phone to send another message, do something for yourself. Go for a run, read a book, call a friend, work on your goals, replace that anxious energy with productive energy. Over time, you'll train yourself to respond to silence not with panic, but with action that benefits you. And the beauty is, this doesn't just help with relationships. It helps with life, because people will ignore you in many contexts, at work, in friendships, in society. If you master your response now, you'll carry that strength everywhere. I'll say this again because it matters. The woman who is truly meant for you will not ignore you as a strategy. She will not withhold attention just to feel powerful. She will not disappear to test your patience. She will show up, she will communicate, she will make it clear that she values you. And until you meet that kind of woman, every other silence is just a filter removing the wrong ones. Don't fight it. Let the silence do its work. Because at the end of the day, being ignored only hurts if you place your worth in someone else's hands. The moment you place your worth back in your own hands, silence loses its sting. You stop asking, why is she ignoring me? And you start saying, if she's ignoring me, she's not for me. That shift changes everything. Another thing you need to understand is that ignoring is not always about you. Sometimes it's about timing, sometimes it's about her circumstances, and sometimes it's simply about her priorities in that moment. But men often fall into the trap of taking every silence as a personal rejection. They begin rewriting the story in their heads, convincing themselves that they did something wrong or that they're not good enough. That self-talk becomes poison, because the more you internalize her silence, the more you allow it to shape how you see yourself. That is dangerous. You cannot give someone that much control over your identity. Think about it this way. If you walked into a room and someone decided not to greet you, does that automatically mean you're unworthy of respect? No, it may mean they're distracted, it may mean they're rude, or it may mean they simply didn't see you. Their behavior does not erase your presence. The same principle applies here. Her ignoring you is not proof that you lack value. It's proof that she is making a choice, and that choice has everything to do with her and very little to do with your worth. The truth is, people reveal themselves in silence. Words can lie, smiles can disguise, but silence rarely hides intention. If she values you, she will not keep you waiting indefinitely. If she respects you, she won't disappear without explanation. And if she truly wants you, her actions will reflect that without you having to beg. Silence is clarity in disguise. And if you can embrace that clarity instead of resisting it, you'll save yourself from years of wasted effort. Now let's talk about control. Relationships at their healthiest are a dance of balanced energy, but when one person ignores and the other starts chasing, the balance breaks. Suddenly, one person has all the control and the other is scrambling to catch up. That dynamic never leads to respect. The one doing the chasing feels drained, and the one withholding attention feels powerful. That imbalance grows until it destroys the connection entirely. The only way to stop that cycle is to refuse to chase. When you hold back, when you refuse to beg for attention, you restore balance. You send a message, I am not desperate. I am here if you want me, but I will not collapse if you don't. That message alone separates men who are respected from men who are forgotten. Picture this. A woman ignores two different men. The first man reacts by flooding her with calls, asking what he did wrong, offering gifts, apologizing for things he doesn't even know he did. The second man notices the silence and simply goes about his life. He doesn't push, he doesn't force, he doesn't demand. Weeks later, which man is she more likely to respect? It's almost always the one who didn't lose himself in her absence. That is the quiet power of self-control, and yet, it's not about playing games either. Don't mistake composure for manipulation. If you're calm just because you want her to notice and come running back, then you're still trapped in her web. True composure means you've accepted the outcome either way. If she comes back, good. If she doesn't, also good. That's not a trick. That's genuine strength. Let's get real for a moment. Many men live in fear of abandonment. That fear drives them to chase even when they know they shouldn't. They think, if I don't fight for her, she'll leave. But here's the reality. If someone wants to leave, nothing you do will stop them. And if someone wants to stay, nothing you do will push them away. Once you understand that, you stop acting from fear and start acting from self-respect. You learn that love cannot be forced and silence cannot be broken by begging. Now imagine this. You're sitting across from a woman at dinner. You're telling a story, but she's on her phone, barely listening. In that moment, she may not be physically ignoring you, but emotionally she already is. What do? Do you fight for her attention, raising your voice, making jokes, trying to win her back into the moment? Or do you calmly finish your story, pick up your dignity, and let her see that you will not beg for the bare minimum of attention? Which choice leaves you with more respect? It's the same principle in every situation. When you sense disregard, you withdraw your energy and place it where it's valued. Some of you need to hear this clearly. Being ignored is not the end of your story. Too many men act like silence is the final chapter, when in reality it's just a page. The chapter that follows is up to you. You can write it as a story of desperation, or you can write it as a story of growth. If she ignores you and you respond by growing stronger, more focused, and more grounded, then her silence was actually a blessing. It redirected your energy back to yourself, where it always belonged. And let's not pretend this doesn't sting. It does. Ignoring cuts deeper than rejection sometimes, because rejection gives you closure while silence leaves you guessing. But you can't stay in that guessing game forever. At some point, you have to give yourself the closure she refused to provide. You have to decide, her silence is my answer, and then move on. That decision is what frees you. There's another layer to this, and it's about gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Because every time someone ignores you, they give you a chance to practice strength. They give you an opportunity to remind yourself that your value isn't dependent on outside validation. They push you to invest in yourself rather than wasting your energy elsewhere. And in hindsight, you often realize that being ignored was exactly what you needed to grow. That perspective turns silence from a wound into a lesson. Think about men who thrive in life. They are not immune to being ignored. But what separates them is their response. They don't let it destroy their confidence. They don't let it pull them into cycles of self-doubt. They treat it as a filter. They know that not everyone will see their value, and that's okay. They don't need everyone to. They only need the right people to, and the right people will never ignore them for long. So the next time a woman ignores you, remember this: you have two paths. One leads to obsession, overthinking, and wasted energy. The other leads to composure, self-respect, and growth. The path you choose will not only define that relationship, but it will define the kind of man you become. So when a woman ignores you, don't see it as the end of the world. See it as a moment of truth. It's either a test of your composure, a reflection of her priorities, or a sign that she's not meant for you. In any case, the right response is the same. Don't chase, don't beg, don't let her silence shake your identity. Instead, focus on yourself, hold your dignity, and allow her actions to show you where you stand. The right woman won't ignore you when she truly values you, and the wrong woman will free you by walking away. Either way, you win because you keep your self-respect intact. That is how you handle silence, with strength, with calm, and with the unshakable reminder that your worth is never up for debate.